G'day guys, Pete here from Clinic Mastery, and in today's session, we're going to be going through breaking down a 12-month plan. So how to take a goal, one of your 12-month goals, the things you'd like to achieve, and how to break that down for the quarter, for the month, for the week, and for the day. Okay, because for a lot of people, being able to kind of see the future, see what they would like to achieve, they can do that. But it's being able to break that down into meaningful tasks and meaningful goals with clear critical drivers and KPIs. That's what's hard. It's knowing what to do every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday when you get up in order to move yourself towards that. You know what you want. You just don't know exactly how to get there. And often it's that we can see where we want to go, but creating the yellow brick road that helps us to achieve that, it's not always as easy. Now, you may also be wondering, why is Peter looking very red? And yes, I did unfortunately get a little bit too much sun, and Mum was right. I probably should have worn some more sun cream. So, just in case you're wondering that one, I'm colorblind, so it just looks tanned. But before we get into it, please like and subscribe. It helps us to reach more people and to create a bigger impact. We're going to jump onto the iPad down here, and we're going to have a little bit of a play around with this one. So, as I share screen, boom, you should be able to see my iPad now, my friends. Now we're going to pick an example here. So the example I would like to use, I've got a few things written down. We might say that we want to hit a certain number target. Let's say we want to hit a certain revenue target. We want to link that to profit and we want to link that to appointment numbers. So we're going to play with some really easy numbers. And I have a little calculator here. So we are going to cheat. This isn't completely done off the top of my head, guys. So if we launch into this one here, let's say we're a clinic and we're currently at, because we need to know where we're at in order to actually make this work. So we're currently at 1 million revenue. And at 1 million rev, we are at 10% profit, which equals, what's that, $100,000, okay. And that's with the owner taking a salary. So let's call it business owner. Also taking 100,000 salary. So we can see here, 100 plus 100, 200. Fantastic. We're going to talk gross numbers. Brilliant. So that's where we're at the moment. Now, let's make the assumption here that the appointment cost on average is $100. So if you go 1 million divided by 100, it's going to be what, 10,000? Let's just do that on here. Let's scrub 10,000. So we're doing 10,000 appointments across the year. Now, let's assume that we are working across 52 weeks, or we're going to average across 52 anyway. So divide that by 52. You can use 48 if you like. So that equals 192 appointments per week. So we can see this is where we're at the moment. Beautiful. Now we need to figure out where we're going to go, and then we want to break it down into what do we need to do in order to make this happen and make this achievable. So let's say that over the next year, let's say we want to get to 1.5 mil rev, and we want to increase the profit margin to 12%. And we want to look at what's going to happen when we do that. So here we're going 1.5 mil rev at 12% profit. Oops. 12% profit. And that's going to equal 180,000. Cool. Business owners are going to get the same salary. So we're going to have an extra 80,000 profit for the year in this example. So how many appointments is that going to take? Let's have a look at this one. Oops, what are we? So it's going to be 15,000. I really should have been able to just guess that. Slow day. Let's do it. Now let's go per week. So divide that by 52. That's 288 appointments per week. In this example. So you can see where we're going with this at the moment. Now, this isn't taking into account any of the other efficiencies that could happen, but let's assume in this example as well, or what we're going to work off here is that the business owner is going to be doing less. So they're going to be going from consulting more to consulting less. So that, let's say they've gone from 38 hours a week consulting, they're now doing 20 hours a week consulting. So, oh, geez, what am I doing here? Take that off there. So now we have to look at, well, how do we tangibly get there? So when we look at appointments per week here, this is going to be one of the key things that I look at first. Because over the year, we want to add 288, take 192. On average, we want to add 96 appointments per week. Now, let's say these are 30-minute appointments on average too, which means we are going to need to hire 2 full-time people over the year in order to make this happen. So when we're looking at breaking this down by quarters, if by the end of the year we need to have added 2 full-time equivalent staff members, so let's come down here. So let's break down what needs to happen. So we need an increase in 2 FTE therapists. Now there's an assumption here. The assumption is that we don't lose a therapist. So this is an increase. Now what we might say is on average we lose 1 therapist per year. Now if so, that means, oops, hiring 3. And so we can then look at it and understand over this 12-month period, we need to hire and fill 3 FTE, assuming we're going to lose 1, if that's based off the data. You may or may not use that, but these are the kind of things that I want you to be thinking about as you're going through and as you're doing this. Okay. Now, you want to spend about 30 minutes to start with doing the year, the goals for the year, and then breaking it down into the quarter. So what needs to happen by the end of the quarter? So we might say here, looking at this, we need to make sure that we hire 1 person by the end of each quarter for the first 3 quarters, with the assumption 1 person leaves. And if they don't, we don't have to hire the 3rd person. That's fine. And then we need to fill them up. So how do we fill them up? We might go, okay, by the end of Q1, we want our induction program to be much, much better. So what does it look like to be much better? And what are the key things? So we might say client retention is going to be huge. So how do we skip that if they're young therapists? How do we skip that kind of new grad phase where they're just like a leaky bucket, letting go of all their clients? We might want to improve their efficiency, especially around non-clinical. That's often what takes a lot of time up for them. And when there's a lot of time taken up, they can't see as many clients, they feel a lot more burnt out. It's quite interesting. So we know we need to solve the problem of client retention. We know we need to solve the problem of efficiency with the work that they're doing. And that's going to help them get to, what do we say? About that 48 to 50 clients per week. And so you'll see we're starting to piece this together in really tangible things of what we need to do. And then we can go, what's going to happen in Q1? We also need to look at our marketing. Now, if we make the assumption that our PVA in this example is 5, right? And let's say it's going to stay at 5. In order for us to add an extra, call it 100 clients a week, divide that by 5, we're going to need an extra 20 new clients. Oops. Now, if the PVA is 10, wouldn't need an extra 10 new clients? Basically, how I did that math then was if someone's going to be seen 5 times and we look at those numbers, the easiest way is going to be take the total number of more extra clients you want to have, divide it by the PVA. It's a rough measure, but it'll give you about where you need to be. So you're looking at extra 20 new clients per week. Now you can break that down and go for our Google Ads, how many do we want there? For our Meta ads, how many? And then we can go our referral partners. Oops. We can go word of mouth and reactivation. And under each of these areas, we're going to need to build a specific goal, a specific strategy. And there's going to need to be some thought behind it. You're going to, like, let's say it's Google Ads, Meta ads, paid advertising. We are going to need to assign a budget to that in order to achieve that. We can't say we're going to use the same budget, do exactly the same as what we have now, and add an extra 100 clients a week. It's just not going to happen. So in this example, we can start to see what's happening here. So each of these key things will become a key project for a quarter. Now we can't put everything in the first quarter. Now, we're not going to go into everything here, but you can see how we're starting to break this down. We can't put everything into the first quarter. So we might go in the first quarter in this example. What we want to do is we want to look to hire one more therapist. What are the key numbers that we need to hit with the current team in order to make that feasible? How long does it take us to hire? So if we want to hire someone in 2 months' time, do we start now? Do we start in 4 weeks? Do we start in 6 weeks? I would say with the current state of play, I would have an 8-week lead time in order to get the right person and not feel like you're desperate and having to take just anyone. So 8-week lead time is what I would work with on that. So then I can reverse engineer from there and go, well, what needs to happen between now and then? Now, there may be other things that happen in the hiring process. We may have a project around creating a careers page on our website. That's going to make it easier. We may improve our team testimonials. We may improve just the package that we're able to offer, improving our induction, whatever it may be. There are lots of different small projects that can make up the hiring project itself. And so maybe in the first quarter, in this example here, I might go, all right, we're going to really have a big focus on referral partners and word of mouth. So we're going to have a word of mouth strategy for people who have achieved their goal within our clinic. And we're going to look at what are our top 10 referrers and how can we encourage them to refer more often? And what are our 11 to 20 and how can we turn them into top 10 referrers? What's the difference? What extra time, energy, effort, resources do we need to put in that in order to turn them into similar referrers to our top 10? And that may make up my 2 or 3 key projects that I'm looking at for the quarter. So it's been about 15 to 20 minutes doing that one. The other thing that I would also put down is define what done looks like. Define how do I know if I've achieved this? And you don't want this to be subjective. You want this to be as objective as possible. So for referral partners, we might be looking at it going, all right, well, we need to make sure that we get X amount of referrals from each referral partner in order to make this a valuable use of time. Admittedly, a quarter might be a small, potentially too short to do that, but you would like to see some sort of the needle moving in that area. Word of mouth, that's something that can happen a lot quicker and it can be refined, implemented. You can look at all different ways of doing that, but put a number on that. It's really clear whether you've hired someone or not. It's yes or no. It's quite binary, so that's simple. And with the induction, we can look at it and go, what key parts of that do we need to refine in order to make that an absolute no-brainer and something that can really help to improve our client retention and our efficiency really quickly. Beautiful. And then we want to look at what's our weekly big 3. So what are the 3 key things that we need to do? So I've got 3 projects there. What's the one key thing for each project that I need to make sure is in my diary every single week? That is going to be really big. Now, I would do that. I typically do that myself on a Sunday. Some people do it on the Friday. Some people do it on the Monday for the week that they're doing it. But it's just going through and spending the time to go, what needs to be done? Is it in my diary? Is it protected time? Is it time that I can spend just doing that thing? Phone on airplane mode, whatever you need. I'm a, over the head earphones, cancel the world out for the 60, 90 minutes that I do those things in order to just focus because I'm easily distracted. No tabs, no nothing, just that one thing. So figure out what that is for you, but plan it out at the start of the week. I'd recommend Sunday before the week starts, potentially Monday, but making sure that that's blocked in and that is protected time. I can almost guarantee if you adopt this strategy, the goals that you hit this year will be far greater than what you imagined. And for a lot of people as well, they've had the same goals for the last 3, 4, 5 years. And the frustration is they feel like they're not moving towards them because it's so busy. There's not enough time. It's one of the most common things people say to me is, Peter, I don't have enough time. But there is enough time. We just have to utilize it better. All right, my friends, I hope you got a lot out of this one. Follow along at home, and I will see you in the next video.